I'm Kim Wallace from Social Enterprise Network Scotland, and hopefully you're all here for the digital services session, because that's what we're running. So if you're not, you want to be somewhere else. So just really quickly in terms of the format, we've got two speakers who I'll introduce in a wee second. After an opportunity for people to come on and ask questions, similar to format in previous sessions today. If you want to come on screen, you just need to click on your share your audio and video button, and there's also the session chat function there, so you can ask questions and feed in your comments on the chat function as well, and we'll try to get through as many as we possibly can when we come to that bit of the session. The session has been recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, then please don't request to share your audio and video. And as I said earlier, you can just participate in the chat box. So without any ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers. So first of all, we've got David Haddow from Social Shifters, and then I'll hand over to Ross McCulloch from Third Sector Lab. So another thing is if you're not speaking, if you can just hit your mute button as well, helps with any kind of background noise. Okay, over to
I think David's going up first, but I can go first if you want. I don't know.
Sorry, yeah, over to
That's
David.
right.
Sorry.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, hello. I'm David from Social Enterprise Institute and Social Shifters. Welcome to the breakout session. I'll be co-hosting this today with Ross.
Cool. I'm Ross McCulloch. Yeah, I'm Ross McCulloch from Third Sector Lab. So I'll be talking a wee bit about some of the work that we've been doing and also some of the work that I've been doing during COVID with SCVO.
Thanks, Ross. So this is about digital services and developments in digital services. We're going to kick off with a couple of short presentations from myself and Ross, I guess using our own organizations or affiliated organizations as examples. So without further ado, Kim, is there any other housekeeping? I think you've let people know that this is recorded.
Cover that, David, thanks.
Great. I'm going to share my screen. Is this working for everybody? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yep, working for me anyway. Yeah, there's lots of yeses going in. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm David. I am the head of brand and digital at Social Shifters. Some of you maybe have heard of Social Shifters and Social Enterprise Institute. Some of you perhaps not. I'll explain that briefly. My background is in brand technology and digital marketing. I guess I've worked across corporate, public, and now sort of charity and social enterprise sectors. And I guess in relation to digital service delivery, these are kind of the areas I bring together. Brand being how people perceive you, technology being how people interact with you, marketing being, of course, how people notice you, and these things coming together to create experiences. And I guess in this context, yeah, the digital experiences. Today, we're kind of exploring developments in digital delivery and perhaps a surge in those as a result of the pandemic. And I guess my context is Social Shifters and the Social Enterprise Institute. So for those of you who haven't come across Social Shifters, it's a global e-learning and community platform. We seek to support enterprise and community groups, voluntary organizations, and social enterprises around the world. Our community is made up of individuals and organizations from over 100 countries, and we're operated as a not-for-profit organization registered in Scotland. If you haven't checked out Social Shifters, I'd encourage you to do so when you have some time. In terms of how we've had to adapt and develop, I can kind of summarize that within these 3 Ps. It just so happened that they were Ps. This wasn't part of the plan. Pivoting, piloting and product road mapping. I think the work that we've done and the challenges we've encountered in the last year since we launched, but certainly in the last 3 to 4 months, have all kind of fallen into one of these categories. Piloting. This is an example of a service that we have piloted in Scotland. And this was as a direct result of the pandemic and the mobilisation of new support content and support services funded by the Scottish Government. We had a basic peer-to-peer coaching product. Now, peer-to-peer coaching, not a new concept. We were looking to do it entirely online, which some have tried. So we took that format and we found a third-party platform, and we were able to quite quickly mobilize a digital service that we called Shifter Circles, which is up and running now. So I guess the formatting of that and the early promotion of that was reasonably straightforward. Where we really found challenges with the piloting of this service was the person product fit, or the customer product fit. The peer-to-peer format that we were running was primarily for kind of later stage organizations, and those tended to be people who were quite time poor. So we're certainly finding, as we start to pilot this service over the last few months, that we haven't always gone to the right people. We don't have an exact product and person fit in relation to our social shifters community and the real benefits of this particular product and service. We've also found a technology barrier with certain segments of our audience. There's quite a lot of administration has gone into kind of onboarding of new groups. The matching of people, of course, is always tricky. Peer-to-peer circles work best in small groups of 6 to 8. And I guess we try and match those cohorts based on industry sector, level of experience. It's all about sharing and solving common problems. There's certainly been a technology barrier and that we've had to accommodate in the onboarding of people. I think one of the biggest learnings from the piloting of Shifter Circles over the last few months is this idea of having skin in the game. We are offering this up as a free service to people. And we sometimes find that means it's difficult to keep attendance. Firstly, to get people's time in the first place, getting everyone into a single session. Coming in from different parts of the country with different schedules can be tricky. But having skin in the game, or rather not having skin in the game, can sometimes mean that those groups break up and fall apart. And if they don't have a committed group of people from start to finish, then the effectiveness isn't quite what we need it to be. So offering this service for free is certainly something we want to continue to do. But we do need to find ways to make sure that people do have skin in the game and they do remain on the program so that there's value for everybody. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is get to a point where we're able to scale this. We're not quite there yet. There's still some pivoting that we need to do, some adaptation that we need to do to this particular service in order to have a product that is sort of scalable. And in terms of pivoting, so the next P, I guess for Shifters, this was a completely unintentional pivot. We didn't design and build Social Shifters as a platform or as a brand to be white labeled by other networks and organizations, but it seems to be what a lot of networks we speak to want. So it's a pivot that's really come from the marketplace, and that was certainly an interest from Scottish Government when we produced the Social Shifters Scotland white label with a range of COVID-19 support resources. And I guess different organisations, different parts of the world have different needs for this kind of white label approach. For some organizations, it's about the regionalization of content, the regionalization of our offering. For others, it's about co-branding. It's more about kind of the ownership or perceived ownership of the platform and resources. And that kind of goes hand in hand with, the need for kind of ready-made content. Content development and production and curation is a labor-intensive and almost always expensive process. We found sort of efficiencies in how to do that, but for other organizations, it's kind of off-the-shelf, good quality content that is of kind of instant benefit to their communities. So this idea of white labeling is something that's sort of come out of the blue, but I think we've done 6 or 7 now, just this year alone. And lastly, product road mapping. They all kind of link together, I guess. We're starting to use a framework called the North Star framework. Again, it's not a new concept, the North Star framework, but it's one we're going to start to apply to our products and services, and I guess the decisions we need to make around the direction of our products and services. The idea of North Star specifically is to, I guess, work in a more focused and less reactive way. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Being very thinly spread as a small organization, we need to be a lot more focused in our product development. To develop a common understanding about vision, strategy, and value. Again, to give focus to all of the pieces of development work that we do. To address customer problems and opportunities, not just churning out more features. I think that's a risk for any platform or website product, is just to develop more features and more functionality for the sake of it, as opposed to addressing genuine problems and opportunities of the customer. And we all know the importance of data. I think a lot of us can be guilty of being led in circles by data, as opposed to being truly data informed, and having the capability within a team to interpret data correctly. I think is something that we need to work towards. So it's a very short presentation to get us on to discussion and questions quickly. So I'm going to tie up there and hand over to Ross.
Cool, thank you very much. So I thought I'd give just a quick overview of some of the stuff that we've been doing at Third Sector Lab and also SCVO have been doing. I'm going to put some links in the chat. There's a question coming from Becky. I'm going to pick up that question shortly. So I'm going to put some links in chat just in terms of some of the support that we've got going at the moment. So since the start of lockdown, we've been running weekly calls with SCVO called DigiShift. So we've been getting world-class speakers in these calls, people like Lou Down, who's written pretty much the Bible on service design, people like Bruce Daisley, who's written a Sunday Times best-selling book on changing the workplace and what that needs to look like. And we have a thematic approach every week. So tomorrow we've got, who have we got tomorrow? This is terrible, my brain's gone to mush. Tomorrow we've got Rohan, who is with National Digital Service NHS Scotland, but also developed the hit app Budify, and he's going to be talking about how you manage accelerating digital change and what that process looks like. And he's drawn on some of the experience as being a trustee with the British Council. So you can book via the SCVO website. So I'll put the link in the chat just now. All the tickets are free for that. The other thing we've been doing is a thing called The Curve, which is free digital skills training for anyone working in the third sector. So if you're a social enterprise, you can sign up. If you're a charity, you can sign up and get a free place. So we do them twice a week. Usually on a Monday and a Friday. I'm going to put the link into those just now. We've had a wide range of sessions. I think we've now, by the end of this week, that'll have been 25 different sessions we'll have run. So we've done everything from SCVO to using data manipulation tools like Power BI and Tableau. We've got one coming up on SEO and one coming up on cybersecurity. So I'm going to put a link into the chat for those. And again, just like DigiShift, they're free. So they're supported by SCVO, RS McDonald Charitable Trust, the Health and Social Care Alliance, and also the Catalyst. Another thing which we've got, which might be of interest, because we're talking about the kind of shift to digital service delivery, we've gathered up lots and lots of examples of digital service delivery, and they're in an open collaborative Google Doc. So I'm going to put that link in for that just now. Within that document, you can scroll down and it's all really clearly categorized in terms of sector, type of work that you're doing. There's also some really good stuff in there around things like safeguarding, for example. So if your social enterprise is providing support to vulnerable families or children or adults, and you've made that rapid shift to digital, how you safeguard some of those users. So there's a really good bunch of resources in there. In particular, the one that I would give a shout out to is DigiSafe from the Catalyst. I'm going to get the link for that just now. It's a really, really robust framework to look at online safeguarding and some really simple actions that you can take in your organisation. What I'm going to do just very quickly, and then I'm just going to move on to kind of questions, because there are probably ones from the room. So we've got 29 people. So far, Becky is the only person who's put a question in. So hopefully some more of you can ping some questions into the chat there, and it can be as small or as big as you like. So what I thought I'd do is just talk about some of the questions that I think leaders should be asking in the third sector and the social enterprise world during this period and during this time where we've seen this rapid shift to digital service delivery. And the first one, which seems like an obvious one, but actually when we've seen this big shift to digital platforms, what we're not often asking is what is the problem we're trying to solve? And for me, that's still the crux of it. And actually, it's not too late in the day to do that. So if you felt that maybe you've made a big shift to moving everything to Zoom and you've just simply transplanted what used to be a face-to-face service onto online, is actually taking that chance to take a step back as a team and really to ask that question, what's the problem that we're trying to solve? A really nice example of that, a really simple one actually, is Street Soccer Scotland. And this was a pre-lockdown example where they did a piece of work with their staff teams to understand pain points among staff teams and understand the things that were becoming the biggest problem. And time again, the thing that we're being told was, we came here to be a football coach. We don't want to spend a quarter of our working week doing admin, filling out forms. And one of the big shifts that Street Soccer Scotland's made over the last years is having a Salesforce CRM system, but tying that into a tool called Pronto Forms, which is an off-the-shelf, really simple forms tool that works on an iPad. And what this has meant is when people are running soccer sessions, they're not having to take paper-based forms that are signed by people, then drive off to Street Soccer Scotland's office on the other side of Glasgow, and then fill out all that stuff manually in a system. It's actually Pronto Forms allowing them to take signatures on an iPad on the pitch, and that automatically syncs into CRM, and it's freeing up staff to get back to that reason that they joined as a soccer coach in the first place. But fundamentally, the point of that was solving a problem rather than thinking we'll make that quick shift to digital. The second one, this is really important, I think, in the social enterprise sector. How are our customers and our users living their lives, and how can digital help us meet their expectations? Again, this is maybe not something a lot of you have had the luxury of doing, because there's been that need to react really quickly, and rightly so. And what I'd say is over these next few months is that chance to take stock and that chance to really understand your user base and understand how they're using digital in their day-to-day lives and what do their lives look like now, and how can you offer services within that. Next one, how are decisions made across our organisation? I think we've seen a huge change at the moment in this, where the traditional structure and culture of the workplace has been completely changed, and we're trying to run everything on a Slack channel or on a Zoom meeting. And actually, this is a real chance to not just take those old processes and transplant them online, but really to think about how decisions are made across the organisation and what that culture and leadership piece looks like. Next one is really thinking about the digital skills that your staff and volunteers have got and not making assumptions about that. So I've been doing some work with quite a few organisations on this, and we've got some really good frameworks to better understand digital skill set within the organisation, and helping you run really simple surveys with staff and helping them understand that this is not about testing them, but it's about seeing where do they need support. And actually some organisations getting a bit of a shock as to what the digital skill set of that staff team is. And that's across a range of areas, and particularly thinking about as we move post-COVID, what are the digital skill sets that you expect from your organisation? So David made a big important point there about us being kind of swamped by data. And actually for a lot of organizations, it's not a lack of data, it's having lots of data but not really knowing what to do with it, or how to make decisions around it, or how to analyze that data, and thinking about who that might sit with. So you're realistically probably not going to have a data analyst coming at any point in time, but might the person who is responsible for data entry be given some time, freed up some time to go on a basic data analysis skills course, one of the ones at the Data Lab are run for free at the moment, for example, so that you can better understand data internally. So really thinking about what do those skill sets look like across your organization and getting a real understanding of that. Fifth one, how seriously are we taking cybersecurity to protect ourselves and our users? So if you haven't done it already, two things. So go and look at some of the grants that are available at the moment for Cyber Essentials accreditation. So particularly for those social enterprises in the room who are going for public sector or NHS contracts, we're going to see more and more scrutiny of what cybersecurity looks like in your organization, and more potential to lose out in some of those contracts if you can't prove that you're cyber secure. The other thing to go and look at is the National Cybersecurity Centre's Cybersecurity Small Guide for charities. It's specifically for charities, but if you're not a charity, most of it is still applicable, and it's got a really simple 10-point plan that you can go away and look at. And as a board, for example, or as a senior management team, you can better understand what those risks look like in your organisation and what you need to do about it. And the final one, and this is one that I cannot emphasise enough, what is out there already? And this isn't always about making sure that you don't duplicate things, but actually thinking about, if we want to provide a service online and it's paid and we want it to be an income stream from our organisation, who's doing this already? What's the platform they use? What are the lessons they've learned? So what you might find is there's a social enterprise in Canada who's 2 years ahead of you. How are they doing this stuff? Reach out to them. What are the platforms that they're using? What are some of the costs involved? What are the technical implementations that are going to be involved in that? And what we found generally is most of the time when we're working with charities or social enterprises, whether it's me or whether it's the digital team at SCVO, pretty much everything that you're looking to do will have been done already in some shape or form. And so really thinking about how do we take that stuff and how do we borrow it and how do we adapt it, rather than thinking that we have a completely clean slate and we need to develop something completely unique. I'm going to put in two other links. I'm not going to waffle on too much because I'm conscious of time. One of them is CAST's Better Digital Design Principles. And this is 10 really simple design principles to help you build better digital services. So simple things like starting with user needs and keeping them involved throughout. Making sure that you're inclusive when you're thinking about building digital services, making sure that you're building for sustainability, being open and transparent about that process. So I'm going to put a link in the chat so you can go and have a look through those. The other one that I want to highlight is Louise Down, who wrote the Good Services book. The book is a really, really good overview of service design principles and how that can help you design better digital services. And there's 15 principles underpin the book. I'm going to put you a link to the blog post that Louise wrote, but the book is well worth purchasing, and go and have a look at that if you're interested in it. So I'm going to put a link to chat in just now. Right, I don't know, Kim or Rachel or David, were there any questions in there that I missed, or any ones that you've spotted that look interesting?
Yeah, I'm just going to bring in Karen, who's been sitting waiting patiently, I think, to ask a question. Maybe she's gone.
Do you know what Karen's question was?
No, she'd asked to share her audio and visual, so but that was a wee while ago. I didn't want to bring her in when you guys were still speaking.
No, that's
She's maybe gone for a coffee, Kim.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay. I've never used this platform before, so I don't know. Can we bring in people to speak? Is that how it works?
We can, but they have to request to come in first.
Oh.
Know that there's 31. Oh, here we go, Robert. I'm going to bring you in.
Excellent. Cool. Hi, Robert.
Hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah, hi, David. Good to see you again. How have you been?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, good. So yeah, I've worked with social shifters before. It was great to hear David speak about the project a bit. And David had posted, and we actually have a meeting next week scheduled on how we're going to continue working together. So all very exciting stuff. I really recommend that you check out the Social Shifters platform. David, yeah, no problem. David, I was wondering how people have adapted, and I actually sort of did a wee report on this recently. So I I work at Edinburgh Innovations, which is the commercialization service for the University of Edinburgh. Specifically, I'm on the student enterprise team. So I help facilitate workshops, programs, events, and competitions and other opportunities for aspiring student and alumni entrepreneurs. Increasingly, my role is being focused on social enterprises, and we also support those who want to form charities. So just as far as how we've adapted to lockdown and everything, just to give a case study, I thought it was an interesting evolution. Like our very first workshop we were supposed to do on March 18th, I think it was a how to network successfully workshop. And as lockdown sort of came upon us, we realized that the content of the workshop was all about these physical interactions with people. And so we decided that we wanted to continue on with delivering that specific workshop. And so we had to really do a lot of quick research and revision on what is it like to try to build your professional network when you can't go to these in-person conferences. And it was quite theoretical at the time, but of course over the summer we've all seen how it is possible, and these platforms like Hopin and stuff do sort of allow you to be able to jump into networking opportunities when used well. And I think for a lot of us, we will never really feel like it's exactly the same as going to that vibe of an in-person conference, but that we're all really committed to doing our best to move forward and find the next big thing. And then as far as just what we've done since then is we've realized that we had an all-day 8-hour boot camp for enterprise development, and that type of thing we don't find. We've spread things out a bit more to be minor interactions here and there with semi-synchronous delivery and tasks to complete between each smaller workshop and stuff like that. So that's just David wanted some examples of what people have done. That's what we've done is we've sort of spread things out a bit, and we'll test that out. We'll see how it works. Having things more sort of semi-synchronous. Your ability to engage with a live session, but then to go and complete tasks on your own time, and then re-engage at a live session, and then view something that's recorded and all that. I think that we can all agree that between now and this time next year, we'll see some incredibly unprecedented technological advances in online conferencing software and abilities for people to connect via platforms like this. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Sounds like a massive task.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a question from Mark Johnson. How can a new digital platform for social enterprise engage with the programming and Shifters offer? Same question to Robert. Don't know, Ross.
I'm not fully getting you there. How can a new digital platform SE engage with the programming, the lab and Shifter offer?
So how can they take part in the stuff that we're doing, I guess? Is that the question, I think?
I think it could be, yeah. Well, it really depends, I guess, on your organization, where you are and what you're doing. But I mean, at a high level, Social Shifters is an open access platform, open to anyone. And there are, I guess, a range of supporting services that sit around it that are more or less appropriate, depending on, whether you work in education or you're a social enterprise service provider of some kind. So, yeah, various ways. I'd encourage you to have a little look around, and if you think there's something we can do there, to reach out.
Yeah, I've just put in a couple of links just to some of the events and the training that I mentioned. So there's links in there, Mark, if you want to click through and you can book a free place. We've got loads of stuff coming up
Okay. Just a comment from Sue, who works at Inspiralba, who launched the Rural Hub for Social Enterprise earlier this year, maybe last year. They're about to do an early evaluation, so they're saying it'd be great to get some access to your expertise in doing this. Is that something that you guys would help out with?
I can certainly have a good go at it, but I reckon Ross is most certainly the expert in that.
I would. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to have a look at that. Yeah, I've not come across it before, but I will check it out. And my details, so the link, the Third Sector Lab link, the website's there, and there's a little contact form. So if you want to chat, we can have a chat. That's totally
if I can help in any way, I'll most certainly try to do that.
Cool.
Okay. Any more questions? Nobody want to come on and share your lovely face with us all?
I've got a question for the group if nobody else has a question for us.
Go on, David.
Ross touched on it, and I touched on it a little bit. It's around decision making. I'm interested to know how small, medium, large organizations do it. What do you have frameworks in place? Do you have processes in place? You know, we've come through a period where many decisions have had to be made very quickly. Some of them have been more reactive than others, perhaps, but we've been forced down certain pathways, for better or worse. How have you made decisions? What has been your framework or your process for that? Has there been one?
That's a good question. I'd be interested to see what comes in chat. I wonder if everyone will be like, that's far too big a question for chat.
Well, yeah, how sporadic has it been? I mean, it's the same question to you, I guess, Ross, and the organizations, well, your organizations and the ones you work with. What do you see? Yeah,
I mean, I think people have had to make quick decisions, and I think, in particular, a lot of the charities doing work where they've had to pivot really quickly to keep supporting quite vulnerable groups. So I think actually for a lot of organizations, they've not had the luxury of having really robust frameworks to do this stuff. And I think now we're in a period where people need to take a step back and to do that. I think one of the things that's lacking, I mean, I've been talking about this the last few years, is particularly at board level, whether it's social enterprise sector or third sector, is who's leading how you make some of these decisions, and particularly around digital delivery. If you don't have that person on the board, actually a lot of this for some of your boards is going to be a bit of a stab in the dark. And I guess what I'd like to see is more digital trustees joining boards, and that not being, because it's tended to be people in two camps up until this point largely. So it's been people who come from a digital marketing background or quite a general comms and marketing background, or people who work in the IT sector, and actually starting to see more people from across the board. So service designers, data scientists, people working in cybersecurity, workplace culture experts, and more people like that joining boards. And we've been doing some of that work through Digital Trustees Scotland, and trying to connect the tech community with social enterprise and third sector, and trying to get those types of people on boards. But they a lot of them don't even know that. I mean, first of all, fundamentally, a lot of them don't know board opportunities exist. A lot of them just aren't connected in that world. And actually what we're seeing is the wrong types of people being recruited, or people being recruited through the existing board network, which sometimes can work, but actually I think we need to go beyond that. So for me, part of it's like the decision-making framework, but part of it is at that board level. Do you have the right person who's able to lead that and help coach that board to make some of these decisions? Zara's made some good points there in the chat. Don't know if you want to come on, Zara. I was just saying, can you come on? I've no idea how you do that, but I'm just like going, come on. I think Kim's on mute.
So yeah, I probably said enough today, but just with Just Enterprise, we had everything we delivered was offline, and from our one-to-one assignments to the workshops that we did, and we didn't have the luxury of saying, well, let's just stop for 6 months, because the social enterprises needed our help even more than they did before. And I was writing in the chat, we're a consortium, so some people had done digital delivery, some people hadn't done digital delivery, and really to look at the knowledge that we had in the group, and we had a big Google Docs spreadsheet, and we were just basically filling in the gaps. And we spoke to people like David to say, can you come in and can you help us with this? And we started a community of practice, and it was really to say, what expertise do we have and how can we learn from each other? And if I did my way, it would all have been ready to launch on like the 1st of April. But as it was, we just had to do what we could. So we launched one of my courses, which was Introduction to E-commerce first, and then we launched like a marketing one. And the finance ones took quite a bit longer because a lot of the finance workshops are people sitting down with a pen and paper and actually working things out on their budget. And we had to figure out, well, how can we teach people that when they don't have a pen and paper and they might not even have a desk space? So I think our approach was, our ambition is to get it all online, but we're going to have to just start from where we are and start with the knowledge that we have. And actually now, hopefully people wouldn't be able to see the joins that in the beginning were quite obvious, but it was certainly a learning curve. But I think if it hadn't been for COVID, we wouldn't be doing anything digital until the next contract got renewed, to be honest with you. Yeah. So it's been really, don't want to use overly positive language, but it's been really good and given us a kick. And it's meant that people from rural areas have been able to take part in our workshops that just wouldn't have, because it would be a full day of traveling to get to one of our workshops. So yeah, definitely opportunities, but it took a bit of work to get there.
Yeah.
It brought some focus as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and I think, picking up what Zara said there, certainly from our organisation, we've moved from travelling around the country, meeting people, whether it's one-to-one or group sessions or whatever, to doing everything online, which was a bit of a challenge to start with, and, just getting used to working online. I know we've had the capacity to do it for years, but COVID certainly kind of pushed us all to doing it just as a work now, and I think even when we go back to whatever the new normal is, that we'll all make much more use of digital than we did previously, and like Zara's just mentioned as well, that being able to reach out to organisations in rural areas across the borders, the Highlands and Islands, has been phenomenal in terms of just people being able to participate in sessions, etc., that they hadn't been able to before. Sorry, Ross.
I'm going to try and leave the conversation now without leaving the whole room, so thank you.
I think, Kim, in my scheduler, I should be drawing the conversation to a close around about now. So, so thank you to everyone who's contributed. Thanks, Ross, and to everyone who came along, and thank you, Kim. Hope to see you all